Get it, George. Call the Mars City Council meeting to order. Tuesday, May 20th, 12 p.m. Could we have a roll call, Bev?
Nelson?
Yes.
Knapp?
Yes.
Rexbro?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Erke?
Yes.
Before we go any further, would we all stand, please, and say the pledge of allegiance to the flag with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second, motion been made and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'd like to welcome everybody in the chamber today, along with Bennett, from the Lawrence Daily Sentinel, particularly you people that are watching on television, to see if we're doing things right here. First thing on the agenda today is a hearing. We've got two of them, and the first one is budget amendment. At the last meeting, the council established this as a date and time for a public hearing regarding an amendment to the city's 2013-2014 adopted budget. Notice has been published. State-required resolution is attached. The budget amendment includes police vehicles and radios that were not part of the fiscal 14 budget, but were approved by council to be funded from the fund balance. Number two is police donation account. Number three is a first payment on a new fire truck. Number four is a fire donation account. Number five is a finance citywide new phone computer system. Number six is a CDBG to fund project. Number seven is a new wastewater treatment plant, $19,700,000. Number eight is a meter replacement program, $1,100,000. And number nine is a hospital expansion, $3,900,000. At this time, I'm going to open the hearing and ask for any written or oral objections or comments to this proposal. I'll ask once again, is there any written or oral objections or comments to this proposal? If not, I'm going to declare the hearing closed. I would entertain a motion.
Motion adopting resolution 14-17, amending the 2013-2014 adopted budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second adopting resolution number 14-17, amending the 2013 and 2014 adopted budget. Could we have a roll call on that, Beth?
Erke?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Rexbro?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Knapp?
Yes.
Motion carried. The second hearing we have is Wells Enterprises request for billboards. The council set this as a date and time to hear public comment regarding Wells Enterprises Incorporated request for the placement of billboards at three main entrances to Lamar's. The billboards will direct visitors to the location of the Blue Bunny Ice Cream Parlor. The billboards will be placed on private property. Section 152-11 of the Lamar's Code of Ordinance states that billboards must be approved by the council. The billboards will range in size from 3 feet to 6 feet to 5 feet by 10 foot. I see there's some Wells employees here. Gary or somebody, can you give us an update on where you're at on that? I know you visited the last time.
Sure. I'm Leslie Bartholomew with Wells, and we actually heard back from the DOT, surprisingly
Okay.
enough.
That's
There are a few things that we need to provide them, so we will do that so that we can get the approval and move forward. They plan to be in town, I believe it's the week of June 1st, to review where our placements of the signs are, and they just wanted to understand the specific locations, so we have to provide them with a map, along with the lease agreements that we're working out with the people whose property that we're going to place them on.
Okay, thanks a lot, Leslie.
And
Does
it
anybody have
sounds-
any questions for Leslie?
Sounds good, what you've had, your dealings with the state?
Yeah, so far. I think
Okay.
it was very positive. There was just some information they wanted, and I think that we can get that to them by early next week. So I
Great.
think we should be okay to move forward.
Good enough. I knew the DOT was involved, and I just wanted an update, we just wanted an update as to where we're at, so. Thanks a lot, Leslie, we
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it. At this time, I'll open the hearing and ask if there's any objections or comments to the proposed billboards.
Am I allowed to ask a question at this? Well, just out of curiosity, Scott, you know, the city's looking at possibly doing some new entrance signs into town. Does any of those positions interfere, you know, with what's being proposed? Okay, I
Does that
just,
answer your question, Clark?
yep, that's,
There, our signs are gonna be a substantial distance.
okay, I just,
From these signs.
okay, all right, okay.
Once again, I will ask, is there any objections or comments to this hearing? If not, I will close the hearing at this time and ask for a motion.
Motion approving the placement of billboards at 3 main entrances to Lamar's to direct visitors to the location of the Blue Bunny Ice Cream Parlor, subject to IDOT approval and concurrence.
Second,
Motion been made and second approving the placement of billboards at 3 main entrances to the Lamar's to direct visitors to the location of the Blue Bunny Ice Cream Parlor, subject to IDOT approval and concurrence. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried. Sell a lot of ice cream, get them directed there, will you?
Thank you.
I tell you what, I hear a lot of comments on that place, I'm being very honest with you. It brings a lot of people to town, there's no question about it. Okay, moving on to the consent items.
No general discussion.
Oh, excuse me, that's right, general discussion, John? Or no, excuse me, general discussion. Is there anybody that has any comments, concerns, or anything they'd like to address the council with today? The council members can't take action on it, but they're always willing to certainly listen. If there is none,
Just one thing, Your Honor, I compliment the Public Works Department. We've had a lot of potholes as a result of the winter conditions this year. I know that not every one of them's been fixed, but I think they're doing a good job of trying to at least do something on a temporary basis.
I
So I
agree.
compliment them.
I agree. Clark, do you have any thumbs up? on
yeah,
that?
2 thumbs up, as a matter of fact. Just like to recognize all veterans. Memorial Weekend coming up. Buried a dear uncle and friend this week, and he was a Vietnam vet, and attending that service outside. It's always a very touching service for the time he spent in Vietnam. But I'd like to give thumbs up to the citizens, to the veterans in our community. And second of all, congratulations to all the graduating seniors in both high schools. It's a big world out there. Use your heads and welcome to the beginning of the real world. So there you go. Congratulations, seniors.
Thank you, Clark. Delana?
I think that was supposed to be encouraging. I just wanted to also congratulate the seniors and all of the students that are escaping school on Friday here. And have everybody have a safe summer and get ready for next year.
Good, too. Well, I, too, want to congratulate all of the seniors from both schools and wish them well in the future. I do have one other one to show you what kind of town we live in, and I've always preached it. We're living in a pretty good town, but it brought to my attention that a lady fell earlier this winter, and it was cold. It was an older person, and she couldn't get up. And it was behind a garage. And 3 young students was walking home from school. And they've been trained to not get in cars with anybody or anything like that, but they listened to the help of this lady. And I'd like to recognize Reese Spicer, Emily, and Ethan Koiken for going over and recognizing this lady's problem and getting help to her so that she wouldn't be in pain. So I believe that's certainly a recognition of these young kids here in our town, and shows you what kind of town we do have. Rex?
Yeah, I got one too. Kind of small, but there's a new sign up at the municipal park. It's been up for a few weeks, but I don't know whether the streets or parks or combination thereof decide to do it. But it's a nice sign. It's not broken like the last one was. It looks proper, and it's got all the words on it. And I think it should be recognized that we've got people, again, in our city that do those, sometimes the little things, and make it look better. So If you've driven by the Park Road entrance, you can see the new sign.
Actually, 4 of them.
Yeah, that's actually Public Works, Public Facilities, led by Brad Aaron and his crew. And they did 4 signs, Municipal Park, Cleveland Park, Westwood Park, and Rest Haven Cemetery.
Well, I thought they looked nice.
You do. I've seen them. Rex?
I'll pass, thank you.
Nothing, Ken? Okay, moving on to the consent items. All items listed under consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on those items unless a request is made prior to the time the council votes on the motion. Today, we have 9 of them. Approval of the May 6th, 2014 regular meeting minutes. Number 2 is a list of bills for the period ending 5/16/14. 3 is monthly financial statement for April 2014. Number 4 is a renewal of a liquor license of Fairway, Eagles, and Hy-Vee. Number 5 is a non-bargaining pool of funds for fiscal year 15. Number 6 is a fire and ambulance personnel salary adjustments for the fiscal year 2015. 7 is a request to close the street for the Chamber of Commerce. 8 is a Connections Area Agency on Aging agreement. And 9 is the vacate excess easement. I would like to pull number 5.
And I'd like to pull number 8.
Okay, that's fine. Any other ones?
Excuse me, I said 8, I apologize. I would like to pull 6,
6, okay.
fire and ambulance.
All right. Go ahead, Clerk.
Dave might be kind of directing a couple of these questions to you. Just going over this, I think it's fantastic. I think I'm 100% in favor of the increases. As you well know, and to the shock of a few people, I want to make sure we're paying our part-timers well enough. I think they provide a great service to us. With that being said, I kind of wanted to ask you, do we have a protocol for different calls in place? My wife pushes me down the stairs and I'm laying at the bottom of a heap and I call 911. Certain people are dispatched and then I see my neighbor's garage has got smoke billowing in it. I call 911. The only reason I'm getting at this is I'm 100% in favor of you keeping a strong, well-compensated crew. Just as long as we're not calling people out that don't need to be there if they're not needed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because then we're putting it on the businesses that are letting these volunteers go. And I have no clue of any wrongdoing. I'm just asking, do we have a protocol in place so that you know when to call extra help or not call extra help, or Tim, or EMTs?
Yeah, we actually have really done a lot better with that since we implemented the night staffing thing and also hired the full-time assistant chief. There's a lot of stuff now during the day that the assistant and I take care of that we used to page everybody from work for.
Good.
Smaller car accident cleanups, odor investigations, carbon monoxide alarms. We're also doing that at night now that we have that one night staffing person. Them and one officer go out and check smaller things or take care of smaller issues where we used to page all 25, 30 people.
Sure.
So it's really helped a lot, Clark, since we've added the staffing thing to offset calling all those people from work, like you said. It seems to be working out really well. So calls that we used to page everybody for, those small things I just mentioned, we don't have to do that anymore.
So we're saving dollars in adding position.
Yeah, for what we're paying for night staffing, compared to paying 30 people to come in for a call, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So it costs $50 instead of $150.
Right, and I saw that our night staff is actually kind of a low pay compared to some of the neighboring cities. But
Yeah.
the only other thing that I wanted to add to this just is, it's no secret that I think in the future, we're going to be tying some of these services together and, making EMTs and everybody work together in bigger, as long as everything we're doing is kind of headed in that angle, 100% on board, and I just wanted
Yeah, we overlap on a lot of things, especially in the city disaster plan. You know, the ambulance has 25 EMTs. We have 25 medically certified people now also, so that if we had a major storm or, you know, tornado or major problem, bus accident or things like that, we've got enough medical people to get ourselves started to
Right.
support our community.
Okay.
So we're definitely doing that.
good enough. I just wanted to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep,
Does that answer your
that
question?
does, thank you.
Okay. I'd like to visit with about number 5, the non-bargaining pool of funds. And for the non-bargaining people, I want to turn it over to Bill. Do you want to explain that? Why
Sure, sure. What we've got there is our non-bargaining employees, any merit increase is based upon merit, based on performance evaluations. Each year, we ask you to create a pool of funds, and then those funds are awarded based on the performance of the individual employees in that class. As you see this year, we have 21 people that are in that class that are non-bargaining. To arrive at a rate, we use what the bargaining unit got for their contract increase, which for FY15 was 3%. So we take the current salaries times 3% to create a pool of funds. I do have one request that I would like to see is have the pool of funds exclude Scott and I, which would change that number. The council reviews Scott and I, and you determine our merit increase if there is one. I'd like to keep that separate from what the other employees have for a pool of funds, because they're reviewed by Scott and I and other senior staff. So that would change that number from 43,365 down to 36,405, and I'd like to make that recommendation.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion on the
Motion
consent.
to approve consent items 1 through 9 with the suggestion by Bill on number 5 included.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second to approve the consent items 1 through 9 with the request that Bill has made. All those in favor say aye. Oh, no, there's a resolution, I'm sorry. You gotta have a roll call on that, Bev.
Knapp,
Yes.
Perky,
Yes.
Maxwell,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Goodchick.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to the action items. First one on it is the Art Council funding request. At its May 6, 2014 meeting, the council tabled this Lamar's Art Council request to help fund improvements to their facility. The Art Center will be hosting a national traveling exhibit in September 2014. The Arts Council was directed to meet with the Community Services Committee, and since that council meeting, the Art Council has met with the Community Services Committee twice. The request for funding from the county was not approved at the county level. The Arts Council has secured volunteers to help with part of the project, scaled back part of the project, and has received lower quotes for work to be done. This project will add needed fire protection, will make upstairs restroom handicap accessible, and will return the upstairs floors back to their original wood finish. The Arts Council is requesting a financial support from the city to make this remodeling project happen this summer. The Community Services Committee is recommending that the City Council approve the funding in the amount of $25,000 to help the Arts Council complete this project. They are recommending the funding come from the allocation of local option sales tax funds previously allocated by council to the streetscape project. Financial impact, the $25,000 funding could come from the city loss funds, specifically reallocation of the existing funds. Any questions? I see is here from the Arts Council. Would you like to share with us where you're at on that?
Hi, my name is Jean Weiner. I serve as the vice president on the Arts Council Board of Directors. And I want to thank committee members and city staff that came last week to the Arts Center to see our flooring situation. At that time, we talked about possibly a plan B for flooring with the concern that there might be asbestos in the tiling underneath the carpeting. And it was decided upon at that meeting that we really needed to have those tiles and the substrate underneath tested. And so we took tiling and the black tarish backing to ESA in North Sioux City the same day, and we've got the report back. There was absolutely no asbestos detected. So we've been doing a little happy dance over at the Art Center. Our goal now would be to go ahead and refinish the beautiful, what will be beautiful maple hardwood floors that are underneath that tiling. And the flooring contractor that we would like to work with, that we've submitted, bids from, he's waiting for the green light. He's ready to go and could, begin next week. We also did receive a outside bid, private bid, to help with the construction process for the handicap bathroom, because I know the city gets very busy this time of year. And so we have submitted a bid from Livermore Construction, and the bid came in at $2,375. And I know as of the last meeting, we were thinking $5,000, $2,000 with the plumbing and another $2,000 to $3,000. So his bid was $2,375 to do the actual construction portion of the bathroom, and he could begin immediately as well. So we hope we have everything before you that you requested, and we thank you for all your time and attention. We're eager to do good things there. So.
Jeannie, you might share with us, this painting is coming through.
The exhibit.
The exhibit that's coming through.
Right.
You want to share with them?
Sure. It's the traveling exhibition put on by the National Watercolor Society. National Watercolor Society is a very large organization made up of probably over 2,000 international watercolor artists. They're housed out in San Pedro, California, and they have 2 shows a year. Their big show is their annual international juried exhibition, and 30 paintings will be selected by the juror from that show. And then they travel across the country as ambassadors to be brought forward in front of more viewers throughout the country, those folks that can't get to California. And so that's the show that's coming to the Lamar's Arts Council Arts Center, and it's scheduled to be there the last week of September and throughout October. So we're elated, and the gentleman that oversees the traveling show was very excited because we're a Carnegie Library, so it's just it's a win-win for Lamar's. And we will reach out to watercolor organizations in the vicinity, folks like the Transparent Watercolor Society of America in Wisconsin, watercolor organizations up in Twin Cities to Omaha, all around, and hope that it draws traffic here to Lamar's. And just
Am I right that there's only 5 towns or 5 cities in the
Correct.
United States, and Lamar's was picked as one of them?
Correct. I've been in communication with the executive director at one of those venues in the past, venue Kerr Cultural and Arts Center out of Kerrville, Texas. And they used to alternate National Watercolor Annual Traveling Show one year, and then the next year they do American Watercolor Society. They're another big one out of New York. And they've scaled back for the very reason that it's tricky to sometimes secure advertising funds. So we will need to incur as an arts council some advertising expenses to get the word out and whatnot. But we're thrilled. We think it'll be a great show. And I should also add the whole main floor, first floor, is with the exception of one small area and Judy's office area, is now painted through volunteer hours, a really pretty color. We had another donation come in to go ahead and buy the paint and supplies, so that's done. It's really nice, and the hanging system will arrive, and the place is really sprucing up. So we love it, and we hope it's showing. And anyway, we thank you for all your time and attention. So.
I don't know much about art, but it sounds like you're all working real hard over there. I don't know.
We are. Well, we we're encouraged by your support, and, you know, I'm telling you, Judy's got a lot of energy. Our summer roster of classes, of programs for this summer, 18 classes, that's easily double the number of classes we've had in the past. I've served on the board of directors now for 4 years. And, you know, there's just a real energy over there. You know, it's just a neat board of directors working well together. You know, we work hard and we want to keep growing and doing great things. We have had a lot of traffic through, we're offering, you know, new events. We're doing one of these canvas events, acrylic painting. I do those. And we started out in March with one, and then we booked private events, and they grow to like 3 or 4 a month now. So we're bringing people through the doors that have resided here and maybe never even been through prior.
Good.
So it's a good thing. We're having a lot of fun.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Judy.
My question for Bill is the local option tax. I see they want to use out of the streetscape fund. Are there any other dollars in that local option that are maybe have been allocated and not used, so that we don't have to get into the streetscape funds?
What we have is we have streetscape, which was allocated back in '03, '04, and that's what wasn't used at that time was set aside for Plymouth Street, and that's about $121,000. We just continually been rolling that forward. We have, in '06, we set up for the Westmark campus signage. We allowed $15,000, or you approved $15,000. That was never done, so that also has been rolled forward each year. The only other thing we haven't spent is the city welcome entrance signs, and that's $30,000 has been allocated, but we do intend to spend that. So that's what's out there as far as what's allocated and what's available. That is pretty much allocating all the funds we have through the current local option, which is FY6, goes through December of '16.
My concern is on the streetscape project. We do have bricks that we own and have moved several times. And I've mentioned before, it'd be nice to do the part of Plymouth Street that can be done. I realize there's a couple blocks uptown that's going to be more of a major project, but the bricks could at least be put in on the 4th Avenue Northwest and 4th Avenue Southwest corners, and would allow us brickage for the first 2 foot off the curb up and down Plymouth Street, where there's grass in some areas and grass there's not anything in other areas, because that always gets wrecked by salt anyhow. And I'm concerned if we take that funds down too much, that the bricks will never get used and that part of that project will never get completed. I would be in favor of taking the $15,000 that you mentioned that has come back, we have not used for signage, and then maybe allocating the balance of $10,000 out of the streetscape project rather than strip that completely.
On the streetscape side, though, it's been sitting there since 2003 with nothing happening.
Well, that's true, but you own the bricks, and it's just a matter of the council setting direction and saying, yeah, let's complete what we can complete, what we got bricks for, and get that done.
You're saying it'd be the labor, the bricks are paid for.
Yeah, so it's pretty much the labor and laying it out. We don't need an architect or an engineer or anybody to get done what I'm talking about, but
And Scott, at the Art Center, a big part of this is stuff we really need to do from a safety standpoint and a fire protection standpoint, correct? Like the restrooms, I mean, make them handicap accessible.
It's a city building, city-owned, and absolutely, John, I think the fire system is needed just because it is a public building and there's public occupancy. And just as importantly as the ADA rules on the restroom. So those are critical, irregardless, really. You know, we struggle to continue to find funds, it seems like, to fix up some of these buildings, but this venue coming is a good reason to get it done.
And then I have I don't know if it'll go to Jason or Scott. Since Central Avenue was done on the sidewalks with the brick, does that hold up pretty well, or do we have ongoing maintenance issues with winters, freezing, heaving, stuff popping in that needs to be replaced? repaired?
It's a little subjective. I think you could ask 10 people and probably come up with 10 different answers. I'm looking at one of them.
Well, assuming you don't have a water main break or,
All in all, since it went in 2002 or 3, as far as maintenance goes, I think it's very reasonable improvement. I don't think it's been excessive. Certainly in the intersection of Plymouth and Central, that has.
you notice I left that out of my question.
That's created some problems. But in the sidewalk area, no, I really don't think so.
Okay.
I know when my office was downtown for 3 years, I had no issues out in front of that building with it. But what I was going to ask, I didn't know we owned the bricks. Thank you for telling me that. I mean, seriously, is there any possibility of working with those property owners and just saying, we'll give them to you and possibly aid in where we can and maybe have them participate in the cost of getting them laid in front of their buildings? It's, you know, just.
Well, we've got 121,000, which would, you know, if you used 30, 40,000 would be enough to complete what I'm talking about easily. And
Right.
I'm not talking about not funding the art, I'm just saying.
No, I know that.
Let's try to, if there's surplus funds in there, let's use the 15,000 and take another 10,000 out of the streetscape. I think we could make everybody happy, including the art people.
And since it's associated with Plymouth Street also, we cannot forget the intersection of Central and Plymouth. I think it's
Yeah.
ready for some work too, and I could see taking some dollars out of what's mentioned in E5
Yeah.
for that process also. Since those are designated streetscape dollars, but yeah, we'll get to that in E5, but I think there's some things that we need to commit to, and I agree with Ken, I don't have a problem with 10,000 to the Arts Council for that.
Yeah.
Our intention for putting 5 on is, we're in the thick of things with the new CDP. And with streetscape lagging for better than 10 years, there comes a point where we gotta say,
Pull the plug.
we're not gonna do it.
Right.
We keep saying we're gonna do it, or possibly do it, so we hung on to those funds for 10 years or better. And so my feeling is either we do have a resurgence of what you guys have been talking about and utilize those funds, otherwise government isn't here just to hang on dollars.
Yeah, and
We need to use it for a good use.
And Ken talked about doing 2 blocks, but my concern, I guess, goes back to the intersection of Central and Plymouth, whether we go back and put in stamped colored concrete or whatever, with the trucks coming through there, the bricks just don't seem to hold up.
That's yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the request to assist Lamar's Art Council in the amount of $25,000 to be funded in reallocation of dollars, local option sales tax, and / streetscapes funds, if, you know, there's an adjustment of where we're getting it.
And the Westmar sign fund.
15,000 from Westmar Sign.
15,000 from Westmar Sign and 10,000 from street.
I would second that.
I've got no issues with that whatsoever.
Where'd that 15 come from?
Westmar Sign.
Westmar Sign.
Reallocation still of loss.
Okay, it's been motion been made and second to approve the request to assist Lamar's Art Council in the amount of $25,000 to be funded with reallocated dollars from the local option sales tax streetscape funds of $10,000 from
Streetscape.
streetscape fund and $15,000 from the Westmar signage funds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And I agree with John, we should look into using those street funds, and if the intersection up there is a better place to spend it than doing it down there, then let's move forward and get that done.
And just a point of clarification too, since we brought up Westmar signs, I'm not exactly sure on all the detail there, but really the sign project got done. We didn't use lost funds to fund it. We, in fact, my recollection is we used Westmar TIF. And the good news, if you look at the monthly financial that's in your packet, where we've been running at substantially into the 6 figures for 10, 12 years. The thing closed in 1997, as you know. And so that got built up to a little over $1 million at one point, a deficit. If you look today, it's only got a deficit of 18,000. And I think Bill would forecast, based on his numbers, on the Westmar Urban Renewal TIF, that by the time it sunsets in 2 years, it'll be back in positive position. So I think both of those things are, know that we've got the signage, and specifically where it is, it's at the intersection of Second Avenue East and 12th Street. It's that, it stands about 15 feet tall, and it's got an arch on the top, and all the venues that are contained within our city-owned facilities are all listed on there. And then secondly, the big lettering on Lamar's Convention, Community Wellness Center, all of that got done also at that same time.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, moving on to number 2 on the action items, Iowa 3 West Trail, change order. In February 2014, the bid for the Iowa 3 West Trail step project was awarded to Peterson Contractors Incorporated, Rhinebeck, Iowa, in the amount of $246,153.21. DGR staff and contractor have met to discuss costs, reductions, and have deleted 5 work items entirely. Net result is a contract reduction of about $19,600. Council tabled the action on the change order at their May 6th meeting pending DOT review. DOT has now approved the change order. Recommendation is DGNR and staff recommended approval for the cost of the reduction change order. The remaining schedule was to begin construction May 27th as a late start date. And I've got a question on that, Scott. Is that still doable, or have we been pushed back on that?
We've got an informal request from PCI to furnish a change order to them to change the May 27th to someplace in mid-June.
Okay.
And their reasoning for it is, after talking to Contact, the bridge supplier, that is a pre-engineered, prefabricated bridge. And it turns out that won't be FOB Lamar's, freighted to FOB Lamar's until about mid-June. And PCI only wants to mobilize pretty much one time. And when they come to town, they want to build everything and then leave. So if we force their hand that they have to come on May 27th, we're really going to be forcing their hand to mobilize twice. And so I'll find out more on that Thursday, because on Thursday we have a pre-construction conference.
Okay, I'd heard it was going to be moved back a little, so I thought we ought to inform the council. And construction date is 30 days after the working days. Financial impact, the grant is 80% up to a maximum of $160,000 for construction and city funds for all the other costs. City share should be funded through the Lamar's Joint Urban Renewal TIF revenue. Also, Eisman Homes has agreed to pay for 1/2 cost along their frontage at an estimated cost of $10,350 or so special assessment.
Motion approving change order number 1, the contract for the Iowa 3 West Trail, STPE project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Question?
Question, okay.
Scott, of course, I'm all for reducing costs on this project. The net reduction in 19.6 does add some additional work for city staff,
Yes, it does.
and I guess
It'd be city in kind in order to accomplish that reduction.
so again, as I say, I'm
It's
always
not a
concerned.
full savings.
Correct.
It's not.
But we did discuss yesterday in CSC that it's actually probably a little bit more than 50% savings, because it's basically going to be labor. We have the
But that's labor our
equipment,
people could be doing,
Right.
fixing streets and,
but we do have the equipment and everything that's necessary.
Yeah. But that being said, hats off to cost reduction. I'm all about that. I think we figured it'd be about 12,000 by the time it was all said and done, and as an estimate. So that's excellent that got done. So,
And then the
Plus
reason-
the 10 from Eisman.
Yeah, I was going to say, the reason that that's still included in the total is because it's being done via special assessment. So we pay it and then it comes back
Right.
in
Yeah,
taxes.
but they're gonna pay it.
But that's why it's included in that amount.
And
And
Bill,
it's included in the contract.
Right.
The work is included in the contract.
and to note, Bill, I've requested the full cost of this project, including in-kind dollars from the city.
And then my only other question with the delay, I, understand why they want to hold off, and I really don't have an objection to that. It's just, I think the last time we had kind of a dry spring like this, suddenly, like 4th of July or so, didn't we have major floods?
Oh, well, last year was May 27th.
Memorial
Day.
Exact.
So,
Remember it well.
and
Yeah.
I think a couple years back, it was Independence Day when we were out kind of cleaning stuff up. So my concern is just rain and what that's going to do to the 30-day work period. So, if we get it started, I would like to get it finished.
The way DOT contracts work and their standard specifications, they go by working days instead of calendar days. And then the working days, when they're working, and once you hit the late start date, the working days is every Monday through Friday, whether they're there or not, if it's can be worked on day.
a workable day.
So if it's raining, they get credit for that. But if it's not raining, or if it's not excessively muddy, then you charge a working day.
I'm just looking.
Whether they're there or not.
A lot of this is not just the nice surface work where stuff drains and dries really fast. It's right by the river and it's going under a road.
I would agree.
So it's great places for water to pool.
I remember that flood last year. I couldn't get home for 2 days.
Had to stay at the Legion? Just kidding.
We had a lot of committee meetings, let me put it that way, Clark. Okay, a motion approved and second approving change order number 1 to the contract for the Iowa 3 West Trail on the STPE project. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to number 3, Plymouth County, Lamar's Urban Renewal Area modifications. The council approved the engagement letter with John Danos, bond counsel, with Dorsey Whitney, Plymouth County, and the city regarding modifications to the Plymouth County, Lamar's Urban Renewal Area at their May 6, 2014 meeting. The Plymouth County Supervisors have discussed the agreement at their April 29th, 2014 meeting and May 6th meeting and tabled action. At the April 21st, 2014 meeting, the Joint Urban Renewal Advisory Board unanimously approved the engagement letter from Dorsey and Whitney. However, we'll have additional discussion at the May 19th, 2014 meeting. The city and county desire to restructure the joint urban renewal arrangement. We share this with you to bring you up to date. Yesterday morning, May 19th, the joint urban renewal board met and went through some real questioning and trust in each other on both sides. And this morning, the supervisors met, and they did agree to sign the agreement with John Danos, who's with the Dorsey and Whitney, Plymouth County, and to proceed on with the program of what we're trying to do here. So I think there's some progress going on that. Any questions? It doesn't take a motion or nothing. We just wanted to bring you up to date as to where we're at. Okay, moving on to the number 4, change water ordinance. Changes are being proposed to various sections pertaining to water in the Lamar's Code of Ordinances. The changes are minor and for the most part are needed to reflect policy and practices already being used by the city staff. Any questions on any of these? Or recommendations? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve these.
Motion approving the recommended changes to the various water ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and approved to change the various water ordinances. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion approving the first reading of the ordinance number 920, modifying sections 9006.06, 90.08, 91.02, 91.08, 91.10, and 93.07 of the Lamar's Code of Ordinance.
We have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second approving the first reading of the ordinances, number 921, modifying sections of 9006, 9008, 91.02, 91.08, 91.10, and 93.07 of the Lamar's Code of Ordinances. Could we have a roll call on that, Bev?
Knapp?
Yes.
Rexinger?
Yes.
Perky?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Is that 920 or 921? 920.
920.
Motion passed. Reallocation of funds. CBP 2 Leadership Committee has made significant progress since January 2014 as follows. 101A, they conducted a first meeting on January 16. B, they determined which projects would be included and which would be excluded. Number C is they created a subcommittee to further investigate, analyze, and refine design concepts of their projects. Now the committee is moving into funding resources. Number 1, to design and draw the concepts into plans, and number 2, to fund the projects. Design/draw concepts may be A, City Mapping Department, B, Iowa State University College of Design, and 3 is consultants. The funding of the projects may include several sources, which may include, however, are not limited to: A, appropriate city fund balances, B, approved city budget allocations, C, approved city and private agreements, D is a county grants and loans, E is a state grants and loans, F is federal grants and loans, G is a private foundation grants and loans, H is a private corporate donations, and I is the private individual donations. Previously, council approved the city-private agreement with Avery Outdoor to CBP2 in the amount of $94,500. Also, the Park Committee recommended and council approved the first of annual budget appropriations of $10,000 for 10 years, which would equal $100,000 for fiscal year 15. Now the committee, mayor and staff are recommending to reallocate 2 fund balances as follows. Number 1 is a lost allocated to the Plymouth Streetscape, which is approximately $110,000. And number 2 is a recaptured home CDBG funds that are now under city control and have met the 20-year state requirements, which is approximately $50,000. CB2 committee, mayor, and staff are recommending council to approve the reallocations as stated. Questions from anybody?
I guess I didn't recall that the CBP2 committee had discussed this, so.
Yeah, Dick brought it up, and I don't think a vote was taken, but it was looked upon favorably.
I did. I guess must have been sleeping at that time, so.
Well, it was back in
I was trying to think, Scott.
February?
It was one of our first meetings, I know that.
Yes.
Because we were looking at, it was about the same time that the park committee approved moving it into their donation, and we were talking about the Avery, and I think we brought up the possibilities of these.
Yeah, it's when the proposed budget went to the council as a proposed budget, so I don't know what the date was. That was either, it followed the January or maybe the February meeting.
I guess I don't have any problem with the recaptured home and CDBG funds, but we've already talked about the intersection work that's going to be upcoming. Before we commit these funds from the Plymouth Streetscape, I'd just like to see where we're at as far as what it's going to cost to update that intersection. I know that the design people are talking about 75 changes, and they're going to be coming back for funding. I don't know where we're at on that. I'm not saying carte blanche, give this to Streetscape or whatever, but let's see where some of these costs are, some of these costs are gonna be before we allocate that portion of it.
I agree with John, and I would say that because there's a lot of other fundraising to be done prior to this, I don't see the rush to release those 110,000, which is probably 100,000 now, until we see what kind of monies we need and how much money is going to be raised through fundraising.
And I think, Scott, you visited with Simcoe also about the possibility of looking for some grants for the type of projects we're looking at. Also discussed potentially on the trails that there would be potential federal grants there, so.
And most of those grants will require matching.
Therein lies why I would like to see that the city step forward as soon as possible. It doesn't have to be today, but
Right.
as soon as possible to build a fund for matching. Almost every state, federal grant or loan will take match. If you recall, when we did CDP 1 and we went after the CAT grant, they actually turned us around from Des Moines and had us come back to the council because they wanted to see a greater local option sales tax match. We went after $1,250,000, and they said half of that has to be covered by the city, and specifically local option sales tax. And so the only reason this is coming forward is to build a fund so we can match things as we go after it and be relatively assured that there's money there to do the matching.
And I don't have a problem with the second item listed there. I mean, that gives you 50,000 to start with.
And we have those other figures that the mayor read up on that.
Well, and I'm not opposed to looking at that streetscape money again, but let's see what can be done with that intersection especially.
Yep.
Okay, well, the intersection wasn't on my project list.
Right.
So I think you're adding that today, and that's fine. I can start investigating that intersection.
I think the concern is that money gets away, and then when we look at that project, we'd have no funds to even start looking at it. So I think that's what John's
Yeah, I'd like to
concern is.
keep away from the general fund for funding to work on that intersection.
At least until we get some fundraising started, and if we have to raise money to match grants, then we'll approach that at the time.
Is it also a project then to do Plymouth Street streetscape?
I think if I understand the council, I think they'd rather hold that for the intersection.
Let's see where we end up on the intersection and do it
Strictly
right.
intersection,
Yeah.
but
and-
not a couple of blocks of Plymouth?
Well, let's see, like I say, let's see where we're at on costs. I mean, maybe instead of just replacing the brick or trying to bring the brick up, maybe we look at some sort of a colored stamped concrete. I don't know if that's the best way to go or not, but something that's gonna look nice in the intersection, but yet try to retain the durability that's needed for truck traffic and that type of thing.
I'm okay with that. I just want to know what I need to look into. So not Plymouth Street streetscape, just the intersection of Plymouth and Central.
I think we should, what is already there should be made right before we add.
Right, I mean, before you add a couple blocks.
Yeah, before we add anything else, I mean, redo sidewalks, anything like that, we need to make what we have work.
So we're probably talking some sidewalk maintenance as well as
Yeah,
the intersection.
if there's maintenance, but
Neil, did you have,
Part of the reason this came up too is the subcommittee that looked into the Olson Cultural Event Center and the retrofit of that center, they quoted, they would like to see the extension of streetscape down First Street north in front of the Postal Playhouse and in front of, or on both sides of the road of First Avenue. So it'd go from First Street to Second Street.
By the Casey Hall there?
It's between the KC Hall and the Olson Center.
Right.
Because part of the recommendation to divulge that would be, put the parking lot between the Postal Playhouse and the KC Hall, take it out of the center. And then turn streetscape onto First Ave and First Street, so the whole thing looks like a complex. And so that was another reason why that group discussed, hey, should it be funded under local option?
But again, Scott, I think even if we look at doing that, I think maybe if we keep the pot of dollars that were designated as streetscape, this might just be a continuation of streetscape, not this is necessarily going down
Yep.
Plymouth, but other areas in the area by Olson or whatever. But keep it kind of for streetscape at this stage, especially not knowing where we're at on the intersection.
And we don't know where we're at on fundraising either. So,
Just getting started on
I
it.
think, I
Well,
think. I
this
think
would give us
maybe
50,000 if we designated item 2 for
Neil, did you have a question?
CBP.
I really didn't need to come up because the conversation's been had pretty well said what I was hoping to hear. But I'm glad that the council wants to slow down just a little bit. Excuse me. I didn't realize this until last night. So I did a little research and asked Bill to give me the numbers. Shame on me for not knowing the city's finances to realize there's still $120,000 sitting there for streetscape. But I think this is the right direction to have the dialogue. Much as you noted here that there was a recommendation from the fire committee on dollars that they take a look at. It's good that we have an ongoing dialogue with everybody that's participated in streetscape in downtown to figure out the best way to do this. And we're heading into a community project where obviously we want the community behind it and support us, and we don't want to create any divisions at this point in time. It's a good time to have open dialogue and conversation and work together on it. So I appreciate the comments. I think it's the right direction to have further conversation.
Thank you, Neil.
We talk a lot, but we generally get it right in the end.
I've noted that.
Just one other caution, we might be getting it right, but it's 10 or 12 years later,
Yeah,
and I don't think we should do that.
Yeah.
We either get on with it, or we use those funds in a more appropriate fashion. That's all.
I would agree. Any other questions?
I'd make a motion approving the reallocation of $50,000 of home CBDG funds to CBP2 and to look at the costs associated with some streetscape projects that are, especially the intersection, for use of the loss allocated Plymouth County streetscape dollars of approximately $120,000.
Is there a second?
I'd second that motion.
Motion made and second, approving the allocation of lost funds and $50,000 to home and CDBG funds to CBP2. And the funds from the streetscape in the tune of $120,000 remain the same and where it's at, is that right?
Yeah, but let's start looking at the upgrading the intersection and then some
The
repairs that
intersection.
need to be made and
You got
then
that, Bill?
potentially over by Olson.
Is that 120,000 the correct number I have?
121, I think it is, isn't
But
it?
then you took 10 of that for the Arts Center.
Yeah, we took
Oh, yeah.
10
Yeah.
for the Art Center.
Okay, 110, let's put it.
The second will approve that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discussion, John?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Clark?
Yes, one item that has come up to me through several homeowners, and I'd like to look into this somehow and not, we do a wonderful job of recycling in this town. It's paying us. I think it's showing in what we were able to do with vans, teaming up with vans, but I sell houses, and a lot of times during those types of transactions, people have household paints and varnishes and stuff like that that they want to get rid of. And to my knowledge, there is no active place that we offer to dispose of those. If we don't want them ending up in our recycle containers, our regular trash, or our leaf trash, or quite frankly in the ditch, I'd like the city to look into working with maybe vans or working with somebody to come up with a dump site that citizens would be able to, yes, Scott?
Holder.
Already accomplished.
Holder is done.
Where?
Plymouth County landfill site.
Landfill.
But do you, I thought that was just once in a while on a,
We've got a brand-new building out there.
They recently got permitted, and it's a little loose, they got the okay to build a RCC, is what it's called, Resource Recovery Center. And it's built, It got started in October, and, well, I should say call it 98% built. So the structure is up, and Mark Kunkel went after some additional funds for some of the equipment, and he was granted by the DNR those funds. I think that amounted to another $19,000. We did get $25,000 on the first go-around prior to October. We got $25,000 to put toward a $34,000 explosion-proof hazmat building. And that small building came out of Chicago. It's attached to the north side of the RCC. Fairly soon, sometime this summer, I think Mark had originally wanted to have it geared up by July, but fairly soon anyway, it should be up and operating. Typically, Bill helped me, that type of event takes place in August or September?
Yeah, we used to sponsor it once a year where people could bring them
Hazardous waste.
hazardous
Right,
waste.
I
but-
knew
But the
that.
site wasn't available in the last couple of years, so we've had to not be able to accept those. so-
Excellent, fantastic. That's good.
That's your question?
Yeah, very much, that's good.
It's gonna be nice out there. It's
Absolutely.
nice.
So is that gonna be ongoing, or will it still be a scheduled, like Owens has this week, or Merrill has this week? It doesn't matter, I'm just curious.
That will come with time, and we had that previously when we were contracted with Cherokee Solid Waste Agency, but with the Plymouth County Solid Waste Agency pulling away from Cherokee and now hauling our refuse to Leonard Gill in Jackson, that has all gone away. In fact, the entire PCB, which stood for Plymouth, Cherokee, and Buena Vista, that whole PCB board went away. And they were the ones that were responsible to host household hazardous material days,
Pickup times, okay.
which is what you're talking about.
Right, right.
And they would go to Lamar's, Akron, Kingsley, they'd circle all the way around the county. We intend to do that at Plymouth County as time goes on.
Excellent, excellent. Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Nope. Good. Lena?
Well, I get to re-quote Scott. You just said, "Get on with it." I've got a couple of things to bring up
Okay.
that money's been allocated for. One is the sidewalk for city by Fire Station 2. We need to get going on that, and then I would like to perhaps see either notice sent to the remaining, I counted about 5 residence lots and business lot or 2, that those need to get done, or just have like if we can do a 12th Street special assessment or something. Get sidewalks there. I'd love to see it this summer while school is out, so that we've got sidewalks when school starts up again next fall, and then the traffic's a little less there as well. But we've been talking about that for a long time. I know we allocated funding for what is city property there that needs to get done, and so I'd like to see that get done. The other one that I don't know if we have money allocated for, but we have discussed, is on Business 75. And complete that over to where the rec trail meets 12th, along, like in front of McDonald's. I think we get up pretty well through Baumgar's lot, right? And then it kind of goes away past the hotel and everything.
Jason, can you address some of those? Do you have anything in the works on 12th Street?
No.
Okay, that was quick.
I mean, just some preliminary looking at, how we're gonna approach that little detention pond that's there, that storm sewer structure. That needs to get solved, I think, how we're gonna do it, before I approached any of those property owners there.
Right, well, that's why I didn't know if maybe a special assessment is the right way to do it, and just get everything done at city.
Yeah, I hate to pinpoint on somebody, but I'm going to. Carlson Funeral Home, I thought you had conversations with him.
Doug had mentioned, I don't know if it was last year or maybe late the year before, that he was willing to do his sidewalk, and wanted to know where the city was in their process of doing our side.
Right. Well, and I realize there's going to be some strange issues there because like that house right on the corner, there's no way you can run a sidewalk in the normal spot. It's probably going to have to be right up by the street. But a sidewalk up by the street is better than no sidewalk. So,
With a sidewalk on the other side of 12th, I know it's on the other side, but is on 12th a sidewalk up against the street safer than no sidewalk? I'd question that, sincerely question it. Plus, on the city's property there by Fire Station 2, isn't there a lot of filling that's gonna have to take place in order to build it up to make a sidewalk work, and thus you actually deter from the retention basin we have there?
One of the concerns there.
As stated.
Was, you guys were gonna work on 12th Street pretty soon, the next 4 or 5 years, or maybe sooner as it deteriorates. At one time, that was gonna be widened out a little bit, there's a bridge through there and stuff like that, so those are all good questions.
yeah, but after our experience on 4th Avenue, I would really like to have any sidewalk work done so it cannot be put in the project when we start working on the street.
I understand that.
And I would say putting sidewalk right along the street on 12th would be, no one would use it in the wintertime, because it'll be plowed under and there'll be slush and salt and.
Well, anywhere there's a sidewalk right by the street, that's the property owner's responsibility to clear it.
Not on Greenwood Avenue.
No, it is their responsibility to clear it.
Or Lombardi.
Or Lombardi.
I want to comment on Dave's comment. That was brought up, that, boy, don't get in too big a hurry, especially if you're going to put it up against the slab, because we were going to white top that road. I think I can easily predict the soonest, and even with this, I think it's going to be beyond, but the soonest we could hope for funds for that piece of 12th Street would be 2025 plus. You know, we are slated, I go to a RPA meeting tomorrow down at Simcoe offices, and we were awarded, I think I earlier told you that this winter, we were awarded sufficient funds to do the 6 blocks on Central from 3rd North to 3rd South. But that still leaves Central the rest of the way south, and turning the corner and doing 12th Street. And now we don't have to do it contiguous, we could skip around. On the other hand, by getting funded in federal fiscal year 18 or 19 with this part of Central, the next time for us to grab a hold of some funds, it's going to be at least 5 years beyond that, I'd say.
And the projects Scott's going to discuss tomorrow are the projects we agreed to as a council when we
Yes.
discussed the priority and what we were going to look at.
Yeah.
Does 3rd North
So-
to 3rd South exclude that Central Plymouth intersection or not?
It did.
Okay.
It did. Anything that was in the DOT right-of-way was
Okay.
excluded. So, if we do the sidewalk, another notion would be that maybe we should do a local project using road use tax on 12th Street and just do it ourselves. And then some of those federal rules wouldn't kick in that you're speaking of, Delaney.
Exactly, and then when you do go for the money in 2025 or whatever it is, we leave the sidewalks out of it completely.
Yeah, we could strategically do part of it with our own money.
Now.
I like that concept.
Yeah, me
So-
too, because I've been talking about this for 6 years, so you just got upset with the streetscape for being put off 11 years. So now I'm gonna have to get like John on the railroad crossings.
But like, on 12th Street from Central to 4th Avenue, southeastern, we're basically talking Carlson, one homeowner, and John Meese, the rest would be city?
Boy, that sounds
Yeah,
right.
There's nothing else.
The one on the corner of Central and
Ain't you
12th,
going, ain't you gonna continue on going
then
west?
then
There's
Carlson.
any John Meese.
No, because I think
What
that
about
has,
those apartments there
West is
on
already one
Westmar?
in.
Westmar Apartments?
They got it, they got
they
it.
have sidewalks.
Is there sidewalk there?
Yeah, they have sidewalk.
Carlson City, and then
That house on the corner?
In the house.
But we have a crossing at Central, and we have a crossing by the swimming pool. I just don't think putting a sidewalk in a place that it's either gonna get torn up in the next 5 years, or it's gonna get filled with snow when it's actually in the usable period. I'm not trying to say the city can't abide by its own rules here, but we have a sidewalk on the other side of the street. This is a special situation. I'm not sure.
We have a community wellness center with a YMCA that children go to all of the
Sure, and they
the
got two,
time.
they got two crossings.
And you want them to cross and then cross back where there is no stop sign.
Yeah, kind of like a bridge out on the west, out on the,
Uh-huh.
well, you know, let's pick and choose our, well, no, but I'm serious, let's pick and choose our safety issues.
Well, this is one.
That's why we got stop signs on all four corners of the school, because the kids can't go to the stop signs on
Correct.
two corners of the school.
Right.
Enough said. as they
And
say.
I saw that smile. I caught that.
And as you go west, there is no sidewalk.
I need,
As you go west, there is no sidewalk
I
on
think
either
I think you
side.
gotta put it
That's
there.
where you better
Yeah,
look.
it's,
Well, but.
We can't
get
exclude
the whole thing
ourselves.
done.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do
Develop
the
the
east,
street
then do the
lights
west.
Yeah.
I think properly engineered, even if
I
even if you
think-
have to put a block wall on the city property,
Well, if
you
you,
know, it can be done.
The problem with the street is we've been doing the asphalt overlay, and the trucks that move down there move the asphalt overlay. And as the summer gets warmer, they move it again. So we've got to somehow get down to the little bit of base, a little bit more than what we've torn off in the past, and probably get down. I don't know if you can do white top, and you might have to do cut out and replace in certain spots to get it so it can actually stay adhered. I'm not sure that widening it necessary. That's my personal
but if,
opinion.
yeah, if,
But the road has continually moved to the stop signs in both directions, and sometimes away from the stop signs in both directions, depending on what they haul. I mean, I saw the truck just go by on the intersection that we're talking about when I was eating lunch before I came. Had 60 bales of hay, round bales of hay, double the weight limit, oversized. Well, it's gonna have a problem whatever kind of road we put in, right? And that's what we're gonna have up there. But I don't know if we can, I mean, we're not gonna be able to take it all out and put it all back in sometime, because where are we gonna send all that traffic? So, we've got a problem whenever we do it, but somehow, we probably gotta somehow smooth it, make it a little bit better, take it down. But I think Delana's point about sidewalks is, we've talked about it for many years. We probably can't exclude the city, we can't exclude the funeral home, and we can't exclude the homeowner. They gotta have, there's a lot of people that walk in that area.
but if we keep the sidewalks away from the street, I think they could do the sidewalks now, couldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
but
then you're
I,
in the retention basin, because, I mean, because to keep it away from that street, especially by the fire station, we're out, you can't do it, you don't have the room.
You cross the bridge.
you cross the bridge and there is, I mean, but I don't know if there's room, how much room you would need, but you're gonna be awful close to the street.
Absolutely. That retention pond starts right at the bridge.
But I think that's where maybe you can help us, Scott, with maybe just not an engineered drawing, but a schematic of where you think it can go, and then we can have discussion.
And as far as keeping it clear,
Because we've all walked that area. We know what it looks like, but I think if you tell us how far you gotta move and how much you gotta change, if you gotta change the detention basin, I'm kind of agreeing with Clark then. I don't wanna change that either. But I also know that road gets moved every August, every September, sometimes July, depending on the weather. That road moves.
Now, we couldn't do it with the state on Highway 3, but can we put a walkway on the outside of the bridge?
well, the south side's already got a walkway on the outside.
I mean, on the north side, can we put a walkway there? So, in other words, bring the sidewalk west from Carlson, then have it angle up and get onto the outside of the bridge on a walkway, and then go back out away from the road.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what you'd probably do. That'd probably be the cheapest alternative.
And you wouldn't have to mess with.
Nomenclature here is a little wrong. That's not a bridge, that's a box culvert.
it's just a culvert.
That's what it was.
I knew I said it wrong.
It
but
gets you
the-
over the water.
Well, the
Talking
sidewalk,
about bridges, so I just.
the sidewalk is a bridge, but the roadway is a box culvert.
On the south side, it truly
Let
is
me
a
come
bridge.
with.
I think you just need a schematic and a concept so that before we start doing it, we get everybody on
You know,
board
it was
here
10
that you're
or-
gonna do it.
Maybe I'm wrong on time frame, but about 10, 12 years ago, the trucks, like Rex was saying, was pushing the asphalt, and the word for that is rutting, pushing the asphalt up under the weight of the tires on the west side of that same intersection.
Right.
Central and.
Yeah.
And then, we
And
did,
so
we did the fix.
we fixed that, I think I fixed it 4 times with asphalt, and you just couldn't keep it because of the slope of the hill and the stopping action of the semis. So we tore it out, and put concrete,
Yep,
and we haven't had a problem since.
no,
I think the same thing needs to happen on the east side.
that's,
So we can do that in one of 2 ways, either tear it out and put concrete like we did on the west side, or we could tear out just a smaller piece like we did on 4th Avenue East and transition from the current level up to a white topping and then go with white topping.
right, and that's what
That's what I was gonna do under the STP program.
But
And I still think that's a good option.
yeah, it's still, it's gonna be your SDP, but we're talking, if you're talking 2025, I don't think that road's gonna make it till 2025.
No,
so
I'm
then-
saying the design concept, Rex, is still good, but let's use local
Right.
funds, road use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if we're doing that at the same time, we're doing this schematic of the sidewalk, I think then everybody can buy into it.
Yeah.
Is it outside the lines of common sense thinking to possibly restrict that from truck traffic? We've got 18th, we've got 24, coming up, we got C-38.
Federal road.
What's that?
It's a federal road.
What, 12th is?
Yeah. It's on the federal road highway
Of
system.
the
or whatever.
mains or the
And-
primaries
It's
or
a
whatever.
arterial classification under the federal functional classification system. And then part of the reason for that is it's the extension of C-30.
Okay, okay.
And we've also got money for it in the past.
However, what would be, there's 2 ways to skin that, and one is to restrict, the other is to provide a better route elsewhere.
A better route.
And 18th Street, although maybe looked upon in the mid-90s as that route, then subsequently, we went through residential areas, put stop signs, speed limits, and the trucks don't like that any better. I would contend to you that long-term in the future, that road I'm speaking of now should be 24th.
24th.
Absolutely.
I think we should leave that fairly unencumbered with speed limits and with stop signs, and yet get it paved. And ask the trucks, by virtue of putting it in, that, hey, we really want you to get to our industrial park via this route.
Right. That's what I was wondering.
And if you provide an alternate route, can you put weight limits then on 12th?
That we could do.
Okay.
Because we've
That's a
created
good,
a new,
that's a good idea.
because we've created a new main artery, is that the whole?
But when we put the stop signs at Fourth and on the other side and stuff like that, the trucks can't go uphill, stop, start again, all that kind of stuff, so that's why they're on 12th.
Well, maybe we can get a bridge discount if we buy multiple bridges.
Anything else? You have anything else, Linda?
Nope, that's it.
That's enough, huh?
Yeah?
I think we created enough. I don't have
You
enough.
got it? No?
Kathy, thank you.
Scott?
Yeah, several things. I am going to be attending the Foreign Trade Zone up-to-date talk from Bill Hooton up in Sheldon tomorrow. And I think, Dick, are you going to attend the one in Sioux City?
Sioux City tomorrow afternoon, yep.
So we're going to try to stay on top of that. I think Neil is attending too. In front of you, I laid a memo from Ron, I guess his full name wasn't on there. It was a note addressed to Ron Kaiser from Chris Swanson of Bolton and Mink. Could I have you quickly check your name and how you want it listed on what will be a permanent plaque on the new wastewater treatment plant building? And so it's the 1958 plaque at the old wastewater treatment plant is still there. So you will go down in history, and I need to know that you're comfortable with the way your name is listed.
That's it.
thus far.
Will they knock dollars off if we forego the plaque? And just put 2014?
So, again, if you could
Apparently
check
no.
that, I would appreciate it.
Remembered for
Hey,
putting up with
I'll
shit.
bring something up on this plaque. No, dead
We
serious
almost got
though,
out of
if it's, I heard that. I'm just seriously, if John Leonard's name should go on there rather than mine, he was in on the, the whole design, the whole council preceding that. I would definitely be willing to remove my name and put his on there. I believe in credit where credit is due. If not, it's, if not, but I would endorse that, so.
There's no right or wrong answer there, and I heard put both on. It's up to you guys.
Yeah. I would-
It's
I
your
would agree.
facility, it's a costly facility at 21 million, so.
Give him
I
some
wanna
credit
give it
too for
right.
spending the money,
Yeah.
so.
Got quite a smell to it,
Okay, I'll be quiet. I heard it.
right?
If I don't hear as of this hour, I'm gonna go with this list.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, very good. We have received a formal letter from Stephen Townsfeld, the chairman of the Plymouth Soil and Water Conservation District, to respectfully requesting that we withdraw our soil loss complaint. I bring it up as an FYI. We'll get to more conversation with them and bring it back for your formal consideration. The water treatment plant, we do have a design meeting coming up for the well. And again, the well, just to remind you, would be located in the northeast corner of the South Industrial Park, right off of Lake Avenue. So that's coming up Thursday. And that same day, we're gonna have a progress meeting on the water tower, just to let you know. I mentioned that I'm gonna be attending the RPA meeting of the federal funds tomorrow. That'll be in Sioux City. And so, John already stated it. It is the projects you've already seen and approved. This evening, the mayor, I, and Neil are gonna be meeting with the CN folks to continue our talks with rail. Vans sanitation building is going up that you've given some incentive to. And also, you had approved to relocate the storm sewer, and that's 99% done. The Dogwood first edition is probably close to 95% done. So that's on that southeast part of town, right by K-49. They poured the curb and gutter adjacent to K-49 the other day, and so that's real close to being completed as well. I want to thank publicly Floyd Valley Hospital did an appreciation dinner last evening for all of the EMS in the entire county. And I'm proud to say that most, if not all, of your EMTs came from Lamar's ambulance. We were well represented there. The airport subcommittee, which was the master planning advisory group, they met in session yesterday and approved the final concepts that Bolton and Mink had prepared for our consideration. And so by mid-June, or excuse me, by late May, we're going to get a final copy of that to the committee. And by mid-June, we hope to have it on your council agenda for your consideration. So that project, that study is coming to a close.
Good progress yesterday.
Very good.
Very much so.
Yeah. And then finally, I don't know, it was at least 2 years ago, but right around that time frame, we had a public hearing, and you approved the vacation of a couple of streets adjacent to the north ice cream plant. At that time, it was for the purpose of Wells expanding the north plant. It turns out, I spoke with the architect this morning, It turns out that they're not quite ready yet to expand the North Ice Cream plant, but they need to make some modification to rooftop units to make sure that that high-rise freezer can be chilled properly during the summer months. And so four fairly massive precast columns need to come out into First Street. And we had the public hearing and you approved it, but it was on the caveat that we wouldn't formally and legally vacate it with legal paperwork until such time that the expansion was necessary. And so we're not going to vacate the whole thing, just what they need today, and that's about 4 feet. So this is your FYI that I'll work with Joe on coming up with the legal paperwork to vacate the southerly 4 feet of First Street South from First Avenue East to Second Avenue East. And I don't want to go any farther than that because we had agreed that at the city cost, we would relocate the utilities. Now, Mid-American Energy had agreed that if there was any underground electric or gas, they would relocate their own facility. City would have to relocate sanitary, storm, and water. And so with this minor vacation, I don't think we'll get into any of those relocations at this point. And we could be talking easily 6 figures. So I told the architect I'd prefer to delay that if at all possible. And they agree. Wells agrees and the architect agrees. So that's all I have.
Do you have a time on that Thursday water meeting?
Let's see, one of them's at 1:30 and the other one's at 2:30, Kim? Water progress is at 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 2 o'clock for the well design. And as a reminder, I should point out, I know I told this to CSC yesterday, 11 o'clock on Thursday is a pre-construction for Iowa 3 West Trail. So that's 11 o'clock that morning. Thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody that participated in the Recycletronics event we had last week here in the parking lot. We haven't got the detailed listing of what they picked up, but the total was about 5,000 pounds of recycled electronic material. We do have the appliance and tire drop-off on June 3rd. Need to call City Hall for an appointment on that. And spring cleanup days are rapidly approaching, June 2nd to the 7th. That's all I've got.
Thank you.